Hello everyone! It's no secret to anyone that the cinema continues to develop, and today's graphic design is at such a high level that it's impossible to distinguish computer-generated imagery from a real set shot. Yes, more and more movies include CGI, and it's hard to imagine a blockbuster without a lot of special effects. But if you're interested in how those movies look without them, then get comfortable and get ready for a few surprises. So here we have 7 films before and after special effects. Go ahead. Game of Thrones. Attention, spoilers. If you haven't seen the 7th season of Game of Thrones, it's best to fast forward the video to the next movie or close your eyes and cover your ears for a couple of minutes. You ready? It's time to remember the incredible scene of the attack on the Lannister troops in the 4th episode of the season. If you saw the series, you'll remember the epic moment when a horde of Dothrakis, supported from the air by one of Daenerys' dragons, destroyed the Lannister army. It is said that these scenes were the most difficult to produce because, with the exception of the flying dragon, most images were recorded in real life. Yes, you heard me right. The creators of the series took the time to burn several doubles and explode the wagons with carefully placed explosives. The extras also worked the best they could, and look at the amount of fake ash that the specialists threw into the field to recreate the burnt earth. But we've moved away from the most important thing, since the cherry on top of this dessert is, of course, the dragon. In this case, the developers used several technical tricks to recreate the presence of a huge mythological dragon in the recording set. All the shots from behind the dragon were made with the help of special cameras mounted on cables and drones. Once obtained, a drawn dragon and a very real Emilia Clarke were added to the scene. The actress also had to record scenes separately, riding a machine created especially for the occasion. To be honest, the resemblance to a dragon is minimal, so Emilia had to play with her imagination and act as if she were actually traveling on a huge dragon through the airs of Westeros. Around the actress, there were not even fake clouds. The whole scene was filmed on a green background. A similar situation was experienced in the 6th episode of the season, where Daenerys and her dragon managed to save Jon Snow and his team. After the traditional indoor recordings, Emilia was able to participate in the open field scenes with the other actors, on an island in the middle of a frozen lake. But, as it were, you can see the dragon's huge green back. Exactly that was the point at which the protagonists were running, trying to save themselves from the army of the dead. Attraction. This Russian film, directed by Fyodor Bondarchuk, has generated different reactions to the characters and their stories. However, it is obvious that the computer design in this film is incredible, especially for a Russian film, a country that doesn't stand out for the great special effects in its films. Besides, it is the first Russian alien film and its creators made quite an effort. For example, look at this scene from the trailer. A huge alien spacecraft lands in a region of Moscow, destroying huge buildings, bridges and stadiums in its path. It's hard to believe that all this is the result of the work of graphic designers. But the destruction of buildings is not the only example of CGI in this film. There is a scene in the first few minutes of the film in which the protagonists await the beginning of the story, and all the scenes in the background and inside the spaceship, as well as the fights with the extraterrestrials, were recorded in a pavilion with a green background. According to the director, 50% of the film is computer generated. The only question is, how did the actors imagine the space visitors in order to realistically recreate the encounter with them? Logan. Unlike the previous 2 films, Logan is not famous for the epic battle scenes between the good guys and the bad guys. Doesn't even have any great special effects, unlike the X-Men movies. Of course, digitized backgrounds were added in some places, but most of the special effects were dedicated to the film's protagonist. It's no secret that Hugh Jackman is the perfect actor for the role of Wolverine. But even the physical resemblance doesn't allow the actor to regenerate himself as the superhero, let alone use his adamantium claws. All this is possible thanks to the use of the CGI. In addition, the 18 classification of the film allowed us to enjoy decapitations and extractions of realistic and quite bloody bullets. By the way, some special effects were also used to give life to Laura, Wolverine's little clone, allowing her to have the same claws as Logan and throw herself at enemies with the same ferocity. But despite it being less incredible visually than other superhero films, it has received very good reviews thanks to its history and its realism. San Andreas. All the movies about catastrophes are full of special effects. It's obvious since no one is willing to destroy an entire city to create a 2-hour film about the destruction of humanity. For that reason, to destroy the state of California in the movie San Andreas, the designers had to work overtime to create more than 1,300 scenes with special effects for the movie. Among these scenes is the destruction of the Hoover Dam, which we had already seen in the movie Transformers, the fall of houses one after another, and best of all, a huge wave that ended up wiping the poor city of San Francisco off the face of the earth. No one would actually use real water to make these scenes today, but imagine for a second how many buckets of water you'd need. And of course, the movie wouldn't be complete if the developers didn't show the destruction of the Golden Gate Bridge. In our opinion, film directors have a special relationship with this bridge. Not in vain, we constantly see its destruction on the big screen. X-Men, Star Trek, Pacific Rim, and Godzilla are just some of the movies in which we can see the famous bridge suffering. But the artists of the film in San Andreas made an effort to achieve very realistic scenes of destruction, combining between 4 and 15 images from the same place, mixing computer-generated images with real photographs, and performing all kinds of cinematic tricks. But the most amazing special effect of the film is Dwayne Johnson, who played his first dramatic role in this film, and his acting skills are pretty impressive, don't you think? Spider-Man: Homecoming. Superhero movies don't surprise anyone anymore, and special effects have been a commonplace for a long time. But what would you think of a movie about a comic book character without CGI, and moreover without a stuntman for the main character? Yes, it's true. Tom Holland in the latest Arachnid hero movie did all the tricks you see on screen on his own. Of course, they protected him with cables and green carpets on the floor, but all the turns and jumps were made by the actor himself. But this is not the most interesting thing. Many scenes of the film were made in the filming set without special effects. Yes, even the mandatory scene in any superhero movie where the protagonist saves everyone. For the mid-cut ferry scene, the developers built a full-size copy, which they then filled with water and balanced with the help of special mechanisms, scaring off extras, stuntmen, and the actor himself. However, the film was not fully CGI-free, but we're not talking about obvious moments such as the interface of Spidey's suit or the flight in the air, but the ascent of the Washington Monument. Despite the actor's prowess, he was not allowed to climb the building on his own, and they built a couple of safe levels of the monument in a pavilion. Surely we can forgive the director of this little deception. After all, nobody would have liked the new Peter Parker to have suffered in the recordings, right? Transformers: The Last Knight. You probably know that each and every film of the Transformers saga has a bunch of explosions, gigantic robots, and incredible action scenes. Maybe these films are not a great example of movie drama or acting quality, but we still love them. And one of the main features of these films is the special effects. This is no surprise, given that Michael Bay is a true master in the science of CGI. Several scenes with no actors involved were created from scratch using computers. But there were scenes filmed with our beloved green background too. For example, in the scene where the heroes are running towards a big scary wave, the actors really got wet using a special inclined platform, and the epic landscape was added later. The same can be said about the falling scene, where the lives of the characters played by Mark Wahlberg and Laura Haddock were literally hanging by a thread. The characters were hanging over an abyss, grabbing only a small metal thingy. To create a real sensation of fear, the filming crew created a special device, a whole room that rotated the actors, forcing them to fall. Truth be told, the actors did have safety devices on them, unlike their characters, and nothing was exploding around them, but they still did a great job. 2012. And finally, another disaster movie. Okay, we admit we really do like this genre. In addition, there's nothing better to create special effects than situations of general, real chaos. In the film 2012, there are plenty of them. More than 500 scenes filled with various destructions and natural disasters can impress even skeptics. According to Stefan Toriansky, an artist on visual effects, many moments in the film demanded simply colossal computing power, so much was the work done. They even used 250, can you picture it, 250 of the most powerful computers to process all the graphical information. And this is without counting the numerous takes involving actors. By the way, Most of the scenes in the 2012 movie, like in the movie San Andreas, are multi-layered. That is, they consist of several images. The pictures were superimposed on each other in such a way that you could accurately believe, for example, that the aircraft carrier was actually sweeping away the White House from the face of the Earth, and that the plane was moving between the falling skyscrapers. Scenes with people were shot against a blue background, and its dimensions, like the scale of everything else in the film, are really impressive. The creators needed a huge canvas 42 feet high and 2,000 feet long, and in addition to that, some platforms to simulate an earthquake, and a whole bunch of pyrotechnics. So if you want to spend an evening looking at the massive destruction of mankind, this is the film that you need. Well friends, we look forward to reading your comments on the video, and don't forget to give us a like.